Governors, before New Jersey deals with next year's budget, the state has to balance the current year's budget. And the Democrats in the legislature are saying there could be a $1 to even $2 billion shortfall. How does all of this get balanced, Governor Kean, in this kind of economic climate?
It'll get balanced, but with difficulty. And things can change so rapidly. When I was first elected, we were facing $1 billion shortfall. And the legislature and I together fought about it for a long time and finally ended up both raising taxes and doing cuts in order to balance it. 1 year later, we had $1 billion surplus because the economy turned around with the so-called Reagan recovery. So things can change very rapidly one way or the other. But the fact that the governor and the legislature have to do what they have to do in order to balance the budget, and they will.
Could there possibly be tax hikes in the resolution of these difficulties in New Jersey and deep cuts, do you think, Governor Florio?
Actually, the situation is really worse than you explained, because it's not just next year and this year, it's last year was out of whack as well. So there's some monies that have to be raised to balance that year. But the answer is, of course, you're going to have revenues being looked at. You can just cut so much. Much of the budget is not really discretionary. You have to pay interest on the debt. You've got to pay a whole bunch of these things that are mandated. So I suspect before too long, probably after this next election, there'll be revenues on the table just to be able to meet our basic obligations.
After the election, because
yes.
This is a gubernatorial and a legislative election year. And in the end, is that really the answer here, that there are going to have to be new revenues raised to deal with this problem that we look back, even just in the recent few years, it continues in New Jersey?
Hey, look, we haven't got room to raise many revenues. Our income tax, because it's got no exemptions, may well be the highest or the second highest in the country. Our sales tax is very, very high also. Our inheritance tax is one of the highest. What are you going to raise? Because raising them has consequences. People will leave the state. Businesses will leave the state. People will go to other states to buy their things if you do the sales tax. Inheritance tax drives people out. You can't do that. It's a losing proposition. So we've almost raised taxes as high as we can. Is there a little room? Maybe. It's a little room. So most of it's going to have to be done on the spending side, and that's going to be painful.
Do you agree with that, Governor Florio?
Well, nothing is for nothing. And in fact, in New Jersey, the property tax is the problem area. So to the degree the state contributes nothing or very little to relieving property taxes, then you have property taxes going up, and that's really the oppressive tax in New Jersey. I mean, the property tax has to be dealt with, so the state's going to have to help deal with that. It's interesting, in the paper I saw that property tax rates have been relatively modest in this last year. They made reference to the last time it was more modest was 1991, when I was in office, when we did that. And we had the state contribute to the property tax reductions, but it entailed state taxes going up. So as I say, you get what you pay for, and to the degree that we want to have good services and a non-oppressive tax rate, particularly on the property tax side, some hard decisions have to be made.
Well, let me ask two governors. You've been there, done that. Both of you have had experience, lots of experience with difficult budgets. What's a governor to do in this case and facing re-election?
Hey, look, first of all, you've got to balance the budget. That's mandated. It's not like the feds where they can print money. You've got to balance the budget. So you look at the whole budget. You look at areas that are less painful than other painful, less needed by the state, less impactful to the poor of the state, and those areas you simply got to cut. And Jim may and I have a little disagreement on the taxing side, I suspect, because I think it would ruin the state, frankly, if you would increase any more of the top rate to the income tax or the sales tax.
So there's always room for more cuts, because we've been doing that in New Jersey for so long now, looking where we can make cuts within departments, and you affect services.
We spend more, I don't know if it's number one or number two, more per citizen of tax revenues in New Jersey than any other state, or almost any other state. So you have to say there's room to cut. I mean, you have to find where to cut, find least destructive ways to cut, but you've got to cut to balance the budget.
Do you agree?
Well, the biggest numbers in the state budget are municipal aid and school aid. Very, very big numbers. Start making cuts there, that means the local people get the opportunity to close the library, lay off the policemen, do the other things that people all want. So again, I just keep coming back to the fact that there are hard decisions to be made, and we've been kicking the can down the road. And the fact of the matter is that New Jersey's credit rating is now questionable, largely because we've been diverting monies from purposes that have been held at the local level. Clean energy monies have been diverted into the general treasury. You can just play games so far, and then you have to be able to face reality.
Isn't it true that in the planning process itself, the more conservative you are, the less likely you are to find yourself in this kind of situation?
Hey, look, this is, this isn't this governor's problem or this legislature's problem. This has been building up on the pension side and a lot of other problems for 15 years. And, we have spent where we shouldn't have spent. We borrowed where we shouldn't have borrowed, and we've done things we shouldn't have done. And now eventually you got to play the piper. And we're coming to the time we got to pay the piper, and you kick the can so far, we're going to kick the can into a wall now.
Could New Jersey be facing its own fiscal cliff?
Oh, it is. It already is. I mean, we had, prior to Governor Christie, we had something like 18 years, 16 years of fiscal irresponsibility, with nothing being paid into the pension system.
Yep.
The employees kicked into the pension system, but the state did not. That's really the cause of many of our fiscal problems at this point, and that is mismanagement that's almost inexcusable.
Governors, thank you very much for sharing your perspectives.
Thank you.
Thank you.